I have to quick do something. I'll be right back. I had a little technical difficulty and I restarted, but it'll take me a second. I'll be right back.
I did that in the wrong spot, didn't I?
Paul, who's here for Soundcheck, checking in.
Echo.
And I'm on a...
Hold on a second, Paul.
Roger that.
I've got a lot of things coming my way right now. All right, now everybody has access to that. So, and we are not live. The event is not live in YouTube right now.
And Paul, could you put your numbers in, please?
All right, Paul, go ahead and do your audio and then put in your numbers.
I will put my information in, Dennis. Thank you. Live or not live, this is Paul Valhus from Austin, Texas, on a Shure MV7 microphone. And looks like I'm hitting the levels.
You are. Good job. Bill Davis and then TJ Asher.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another day of another thing. And this is me and trying to get the levels right. And I probably started too strong. So now that I'm settling down, that is probably where my audio will be.
Okay, perfect. TJ and then Josh.
Here we go. TJ Asher coming in from Minneapolis, Minnesota into my Heil like normal and blah, blah, blah. I think I'm about there.
Good job, TJ. Before Josh comes in, Rajan, you need to turn on your video, please. Go ahead, Josh.
This is Josh Kaufman coming in from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I am talking at the meters about the 20 mark. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me. So we're just waiting for Rajan to turn on his video so we can do a sound check.
Fine.
Okay.
We'll just keep moving forward. All right. Here we go.
Do you want us to hit the go live button?
Yeah, you probably ought to reset the start. You have to go live. You can't go live. You have to go live minimum of 2 minutes before. You can't with the countdown clock going.
There was a lot of chaos on it. I didn't want to hit go live and then find out that we weren't ready.
No, we're just going to go. Anyway, so if you're going to go live, if you want to use the countdown, we just go live. We'll just start talking.
Okay.
So it's So just so you don't have to count it in. The thing is that with a countdown clock, you have to go live 2 minutes out. Period. Minimum. And if you're not going to do that, if you're still chaos, then wait. But you have to know that the countdown clock has to activate 5 minutes before you're going to go live. And wherever that is, it's where it is. If it's 5 minutes late or 10 minutes late or whatever. But you should. The process that we have to get into here is that we're going to start 5 minutes. You're going to start the countdown clock 5 minutes ahead of time, and then we're going to start live shortly after that. And if we have to change the countdown clock, you just scroll it back. We have the power.
The guys on Unity say we are live. So
okay, great. No, I'm fine with people listening to it. We can always clip it. All right. So now we're jumping in for a special Sunday session with Nick Jushchyshyn. Nick is head of immersive and visual effects at Drexel. I never get the whole thing correct, but I think I hit the important marks there. So Nick is the all things immersive 3D visual effects at Drexel University, and so we started talking about doing. There was a talk about having a control room, and I think Nick might be able to show us said control room. They were talking about using green screen, and Nick and I started talking about the idea that possibly we could use, instead of green screen, we could possibly use Unreal Engine. And then we thought, well, people could then build their own Unreal Engine setups, build in Metahuman their own people of who they are, and then they could be represented in the system. And so, Nick, do you want to outline a little bit or give a little show and tell there?
Yeah, sure. So in the office hours emails, there's a lot of links for you. So I'm actually, just now that you brought it up, I'm loading up the control room as it is right now. But the overarching approach here is that with Metahuman Creator for free with a browser, you can create your own custom designed Metahuman that ideally looks like yourself. So if are you able to see my Metahuman me at this point? Is that what's coming?
Yes.
Okay. So this is my attempt at making myself in Metahuman Creator. And this is just running inside Chrome. You just go to metahuman.unrealengine.com. You'll want to go to unrealengine.com first to create yourself an account. But then you can log into this with that free account and design your metahuman. And I think we've had sessions on this before, but overall, you pick from a library of existing humans that they've created through the use of 3D scanning of actual humans. These are not the actual humans that they 3D scanned. They're derived from that. But from this library, you can drag and drop different people that maybe have certain traits that appear to match yourself.
And how do you approach that, Nick? How do you, when you put the different traits in, what are you looking for when you start to add those traits?
I usually start with kind of the overall head structure first myself, trying to get an overall shape. And then I start to hone in on nose and jaw. So if I were to create a new metahuman, I could go here and hit create new metahuman. And then we get this library. And the first person that you choose is the basis on which you're building everything. And each one of these individuals does have like an underlying structure that is different from all of the others. So if you choose one, and then as you're editing, you really find like you're really struggling with getting the head shape and eye shape and things like that you really want, it might be worthwhile just to start over again and start with a new structure. So I can't remember exactly who I started with, but I'm going to just choose Gab.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
One of the things that I've found is that when I'm playing with Metahuman is that I'll start with the character in there that looks the most like what I'm trying to get to. And then I add ones that are the most different from each other, around it, so that I can clearly go to one thing or another as I start to, blend different features. Is that at all similar to your approach, Nick?
If you're going to go for a spectrum of people, absolutely, that sounds great.
Right.
Like if I'm making myself, a lot of times what I'll do is actually, so we'll go to blend mode. I'll start to look for a given trait and actually try to find somebody, let's say a nose, right? So my nose has a lot of roundedness, bubbleness to it. I have a pretty deep bridge. I'm pretty old. And so I want to look for, I want to be able to identify a nose that's closer to me than this character, right? So this character has a bit of a wider bridge than I do. And also and opposite, the nostril area is actually narrower than me. So I wouldn't choose Bernice, for example, because she has a very shallow bridge. So that's not going to help me pursue my nose. So I'm going to look for someone who, okay, he's got a deep bridge, and then maybe someone else has a more rounded nostril area, and might go for them. So I might want both of those, that I'm going to use those traits to kind of get my nose. This guy's mouth actually happens to be, somewhat close to mine. So I might next target the eyes and things like that. So I think for right now, I'm just going to take this guy because of the bridge of his nose, and trying to find someone with kind of a bulbous kind of nostril ends, and I'm just having a tough time. Maybe this one. So you don't necessarily even need to stay within the same gender, of course. And these, by the way, are replaceable, right? So let's say that I really felt like her nose was a closer match to me. So I can't do anything yet until I find one more match. And so I'm just going to throw this guy in here. So now over here in the face in blend mode, I can click.
And I think
any
you can have
these.
up to 6, right?
You can have up to 6 around the perimeter, right? But I kind of wait until I've, kind of gotten some of the things that I want first, and then I start to kind of tune in. So let's just say I feel like her nose is much closer to mine. So I'll select here and I'll drag off in the direction that she is. So that helps with the end of the nose in general. And I can audition others, right? So this guy does have a little bit of a bridge, but I can maybe adjust that later. Let's say chin, and maybe I want to go up here. And so if I want, maybe kind of a bigger cheek, or one other note is that let's say I've picked her for my nose, but I'm not really satisfied with it. Now I can try Christopher here and just drag him in and replace. And now the nose, that's better. I'm going to go with that nose instead of Kendra. So I usually start with the eyes and nose. And, again, I picked this guy to start with because his eyes are pretty close. And so now my lips are quite a bit thinner. So now I'm finally going to really look for, some thin lips. And so Nassim here has some thin lips. So I'll go here and select him. And now I can start blending between, like his lips pull in too much. Let's try Omar. So anyway, there we go. We're starting to get this. Now, I could continue refining this and you guys could watch and it would get really boring. So I just wanted to show two other modes. After you've kind of done everything you possibly can with these blends up to 6 faces and you're kind of tuning in, then you can go on to move. And, maybe my mouth is closer up to my nose, so I can move this up and down. Maybe my chin is either lower or higher. And incidentally, you can right click and rotate and look from the side and see, like, is this right or is this right? My chin kind of protrudes out a bit more, so I can pull that out. And then finally, we can go into sculpt mode, which gives us the most fine control that is offered within Metahuman Creator. So I could take the cheeks and pull those out or pull those in based on
I do find, though, that you can't do one or the other. You really have to go through these steps, right? Because to get the most detail out of it, you can't just go, I just only want to use the sculpt tool, because it won't take you to the same place. Is that right?
Absolutely right. And another thing to be aware of is if you go through and do this sculpting, let's say I pull this out or for some reason, and then if I go back to blend, choosing a new cheeks here, I've now defeated what I did sculpting. Like that sculpting has now been reset based on this structure. And so now, I can't go sculpt and then go back to here and expect that what I modified sculpting is still there. Like I'd have to go back and do it again. Right. So one other thing that's important to really kind of pick early on is the skin roughness. So under blend up here is skin, and that's the texture itself. So I should be careful because roughness, it really, that as a term relates more to how shiny it is.
Well, and it's not progressive, right? I mean, when you change the texture, it's like jumping to entirely different looks.
Exactly. So you could think of this as an old television station, television box where ka-chunk, 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 ka-chunk. You're actually picking different textures altogether. And so this is just switching between, there's no gradient between each of these. And so it is important to choose this because as you look at this, you can see how, like, if you look just under, the inner eye here, like the shadow and where the actual break from like the orbital versus like the actual eye cavity, that actually adjusts with this. And so you really do want to kind of select this texture very early on. Right. And this is also where you're going to get that kind of that fine wrinkle detail, furrows that lead from the nose to the edge of the mouth and such. A lot of that comes from this. Incidentally, color is independent of the texture. So the texture is really, here's a good one that's got lots of wrinkling in it and very weathered and such, but I can still adjust the tonality of that skin, both in terms of essentially melanin and then saturation as well. And so this can all be adjusted after the fact and really has a broad spectrum of values, and that's independent of the texture itself. So those are some of the tips of things to get early on. And I should have made note of which one I chose, but I could potentially go with this one as being one for me. Like I don't have a whole lot of weathering and wrinkling yet in my own life, but I do have, good bit of blemishes and probably getting tired and some rings under my eyes kind of thing. So anyway, you'll definitely want to pick this earlier rather than later, because it does actually alter the shape of some of the facial features. And then, then you can go into, well, again, Sculpt gives you all these little dots that you can pull and push in multiple directions. And what they do from the front view is a bit different than what goes on from the side view, right? So they definitely take a look from different angles. And I'm just using my right mouse button to roll around. Another thing that helps when you're visualizing this is to try and find a head hairline that makes sense, because how we perceive the upper end of our head is very different depending on hairline. And so mine's significantly receded. So I could pick this one. This one actually has more hair on the top of its head than I do, really, but it's really among the things that are offered the closest matched, because I do have a bit of fuzz up here. I could go with this, but then it's kind of bushier in the background. So this isn't really how I wear my hair.
Yeah, and one thing that I'm hoping is that we see, with GDC coming up in March. Is GDC coming up in March? I'm not sure.
I don't think GDC is in March. I think isn't that in May? I think that's
maybe they moved it. It used to be in March long ago, but everything's changed from the before times. But I'm hoping we see a big update at some point, because I think nothing's really changed that dramatically in the last in the last year, right? I mean, there hasn't been much updated, right?
It's been a lot of under the hood updates and nuanced things. Like when they first came out last year, you couldn't wiggle their toes, and now you can wiggle their toes. And
and GDC, by the way, is March 21st to the 25th. So it's coming up in about a month, and so we'll be able to.
It's coming up really fast.
Yeah.
And I think one of the big pain points, for example, are body proportions and clothing. We have a lot of control over really fine sculpting of the face, and it's still not quite enough to really nail somebody's face. Mm-hmm. We have far less control over body types, right? So really, there are 3 heights: short, average, and tall. And for each of those, there's a male and a female build. And for each of those, there is a kind of average weight, and a underweight and an overweight, and those are their terms. I think they probably could have named them differently, and probably it doesn't matter as much now, because they probably have the intent in the future to have more of this same kind of adjustment ability in there. So this is just kind of getting things started with Metahumans. Another thing that you can do, let's say if you wanted to make someone that looked more like a child, so you could choose short, and I'll just choose a short underweight build. And one of the things that you can do is change the head scale, and
that's new.
The proportions.
I don't think that was there.
That was not there last year when we were doing this,
right.
And so you can. This alters our perception of age. The size of the head relative to the body is something that develops with us over time.
Turn it all the way up. Turn it all the way up.
Turn it all the way up. There we go. So now we've got a bobblehead.
You need to go to 2.
This is it. That's as far as we can go right now. So there we go. This is getting kind of Gollum looking though.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then also clothing. Like I know that, I've seen Metahuman demos that include a t-shirt here, and they just haven't released that publicly at this point. So now we just have 3 pretty generic tops. There's like a button-down shirt and a sweater and a hoodie. Bottoms, they have added a little bit. The shorts are newer, and there are a couple different.
I don't think we had sweats before. Yeah.
And shoes again are pretty limited. There's really only 4 options there.
Mm-hmm.
So these are things that also folks are working on, developing themselves. It's not all that difficult, honestly, if someone knows how to create a 3D model. You could even create shoes with photogrammetry and then do a very basic joint skinning operation in something like Blender or Maya, Cinema 4D, and ultimately get a pair of shoes that would be compatible with Metahumans. So shoes, because they really only bend, kind of between the ball of the foot and the ends of the toes for the most part. Like, you could get away with, very quickly being able to model a variety of shoes and use photogrammetry for that matter.
And we have a few people who have done them. John, we'll look at John's thing there. So John, you how long did that take you to put together?
I just attended every one of Nick's classes and then just stepped through exactly what he just showed today. So I'm just following along completely on the tutorial.
Yeah, that's great. And then Dennis, you have one as well.
I just started playing with this.
Getting really close fast.
We started. Yeah. All I've done so far is picked a model and started tweaking.
He looks a lot meaner than you do, though. I mean, it's just like there's like a like so that's and then of course Jeffrey's got one. There we go. There's Jeffrey's.
I have one thing is it's sad that we can't put glasses on. That's one thing that's missing for me.
Right.
But I've been doing a lot of moving around on the face, and I think it's okay, but yeah, I still have a lot of work to do on it.
Yeah. And then so there's a couple of them there, and then Rick, you're not using. Are you using Metahuman for it, Rick, or are you using iClone?
Well, this is Metahuman, and this is one that I had shown last year, but I'm doing some new tricks that I wanted to share.
Yeah.
With my Metahumans. So, so this is the Metahuman I think I debuted like a year ago, and this is the one I was puppeting in real time. But now I've been doing some other things like some real time deep faking. So I will demo that. So now you can hopefully see the Tom Cruise guy here.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I just did. Here we go. All right. So I will try that out. So this is an actual real-time deep fake on top of my Metahuman that I can also pilot in real time.
That's cool. Now, what are you using? What software? That's Deep Face Fake Live or Deep Face Live?
Deep Face Live, yes. So I can switch between a couple of different models. So I'll show you this one, and then I've got, let's pull it up and then grab my GPU version here, and then it should switch over. And so kind of rewind now and play again. So there's a Jim Carrey.
Yeah, that's not scary at all.
Jim Carrey can be as scary as he wants to be anytime.
Yeah, exactly.
He wants.
Yeah, so that's great. Anyway, go ahead, Nick.
I have questions.
Yeah,
I have questions. So you're at this point, you're driving the Metahuman with something like LiveLink Face or LiveLink. So you have a Metahuman, right? And you're driving that with a live video feed of some kind through.
I have been, but this one is not, just because of the demo I'm trying to do, because I have a PC in the other room and I'm trying to run it over a HDMI extender. And so, but but this is real time being applied to a previously recorded clip I have, but this is a real time deep fake.
That's fine. So now the Metahuman is the source, or is the source of the deformations effectively that the deep face is using, right? So it's
correct.
It's taking an existing talent. You know, we looked at Tom Cruise and Jim Carrey. So you have it's just a photo of them, or is it a library of photos of them?
It's a library. So this app actually has a library of different actors you can grab. You can either grab a CPU version or
can you
a
make
GPU
up your
version.
own?
I haven't got that far yet. And I don't know if you can, but I'm hoping you can. I think this is kind of like a prepackaged bundle that they're just, making it really simple to run. So.
And the reason that I'm interested in that is that when we do previs, what's potentially really cool is to be able to build one of, someone that we're gonna, and it just makes it easier for everyone to visualize it if we have them in that space.
Yeah, I'll do I have a Sylvester Stallone one I'll do quick too, and then I'll.
And so, have you experimented? Is there any difference What's the advantage of using a metahuman to drive the deep face versus just a straight video of yourself?
I can put it in any situation. I can light it how I want. I can give myself, it uses the hair of the metahuman and it uses that, so it's not,
so it's just replacing the face itself.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's still just another layer of, creativity, I guess I can add on to it. I can put a different character, different outfit, different,
Yeah.
It relights it too. So as you can see, even though, the lighting changes, it changes on the metahuman or on the deep fake as well.
Gotcha. So if you could get the overarching shape of Stallone's head or any of these characters' head and the right hair, then you could light as you like and get them acting somewhere. That's pretty cool. I was just trying to get my head around the value of it, because I feel like the facial performance now gets like, we used to call it digital sandpaper, right? So that if you start out with genuine video of a genuine human being, all the nuance is all in that, as much as could be captured by the pixels. But if you've processed through something like a facial capture tool like LiveLink, you're only keeping whatever data it could pick up. And so you've kind of, your generation away from the original performance. So that's pretty interesting though.
Cool.
Other metahumans to show, or would you like me to show the
I think
the concept control room concept?
We're going to go to the next thing. Yeah, let's go to the control room.
Okay, so the next item then is that if we have everybody's metahumans, hopefully you can see something that looks like a rocket launch control room. Okay, so this is made in Unreal Engine from a entirely free kit of existing models. So there is something called the factory environment kit, and it's a free download, and it has robotic arms and trains and trucks and all kinds of stuff that we wouldn't need for this, but it has these very industrial building walls and ceilings and lighting and kind of walkways and railings. And so it also has these consoles in them. It did not have the banana. I added the banana for scale.
A requirement.
But yeah, it's a requirement for anything explaining anything. So anyway, so it's very easy to create this and make it any size, right? So if I get rid of these, for example, like now that I have a console here, I can just Alt, hold my Alt key and click and drag this, and now I've got another one. So it's very trivial to build out a set. And if we were to get 8 people that delivered metahumans, we can have 8 of these consoles staffed, and we can record a video, just a video of one's face that says, virtual systems, go for launch. And that video can be applied to the face of the metahuman. And so then we could have essentially a metahuman staffed launch control room. And these monitors can be fed with either live or pre-recorded video. They're just textures in Unreal Engine, so they're easy to edit. And I've actually also added these to the consoles, so the consoles have some of those.
And one of the things that I was thinking about with this is that because it is something, when you do a launch, all that's scripted. Ready to do this, go. Ready to do this, go. This is ready to, like that's all. Everyone says the same thing, so you can record those. And because Unreal's a game engine, that could theoretically be a keystroke, right? You just hit it. You could be hitting it, and it could take the camera, fly it to that person, have the person say what they're saying, but they said it a long time ago, and you just push the button, and they, it cuts to them, and you could put. I don't know if we'll have time to do that much, but you could theoretically pre-program that so that it would just jump to where it needs to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in this instance, what we'll likely do is there's something called movie render queue, and so we could just render canned video for our first go around, because we're like 2 weeks. Right. We're 2 weeks from launch, so that's the low hanging fruit delivery.
Nick. I know you're capable of it.
Those were the days. So yeah. Anyway, the other thing that's I was actually throwing this out to Alex, is that with Zuma ISO, you could take an ISO isolated output from a Zoom meeting, for example, and have each one of those driving another metahuman in a single world, and so that you could actually have a live panel discussion. Now, there would obviously be frame dropping and frame rate issues with that, but I feel like that's the direction that this could go, in that you could have a panel discussion amongst metahumans, and it's being driven by a standard Zoom meeting, and all these avatars are being driven. So I think that's really interesting. And another thing that interests me in general, and I haven't dug into yet, but is, just like the machine learning system that Rick is using to create the face replacements there. There's machine learning that is used to just take spoken text, or either text or spoken words, audio, and convert that to facial animation. So that's another, I think it's audio to face from NVIDIA, there's a suite that you can just basically give it a single audio file, and then it will animate the metahuman's face using that audio file of dialogue. So it would be, interesting to use those same kind of systems to then potentially animate seated characters in a panel, kind of feed it lots of video of how so-and-so behaves as a panelist in something like this, and then have that eventually derive that animation based on the just the audio signal alone. So that's kind of the overall kind of intro. I'm not sure.
So what's
what
next?
else you would like to see.
Now we have to get the export. Like, what's the export process? How do you get it out of Metahuman into Unreal?
Yeah, so for that, on YouTube, I have a video. Let me just bring it up here. And it's called What to Expect When You're Expecting a Metahuman. So I am just finding that right now so I can bring it up. And the process is easy, but it does take time. And so let me just share this and then switch over to that. Okay, so now you should be seeing something of a YouTube video panel. So again, the video is called What to Expect When You're Expecting a Metahuman. And my channel on YouTube is just called Pixel Prof, so you can go there. Not monetized. This is not sponsored. Just kind of helping everybody out. And basically, this walks through the entire process that, okay, let's say you've finished a metahuman and you want to now put that metahuman to use in something. You'll need to get this metahuman into Unreal Engine, because that's where you have the ability to custom animate it and pose it and all that sort of thing. And so this video starts with, at this point, you would already have an Epic account, but you'll want to install Unreal Engine on your computer. And so there's a download button for that. There is a precursor needed for Mac users. You would want to install Xcode first, because under the hood, Unreal Engine is a development tool, and any development tool on Mac and for iOS is built upon Xcode. So if you're on Mac, you want to install Xcode, and then you can come here to install Unreal Engine. And so Unreal Engine basically has these two columns of license information. Honestly, when you scroll down to the bottom, I am 99% sure that the download is identical for both of these. So yeah, there we go. You scroll down and you choose download now. I don't think there's any difference between the software you get, but this is more informative about the two kinds of standard licenses that Epic offers. And the distinguishing feature really is, are you releasing software that you're charging for? And so a metahuman by itself is not considered software. But if you were to develop an application and sell it as an iOS app or Mac or PC app, you would, basically be under the publishing license, in which case, after you've sold $1 million of revenue, they want 5 cents after that, and 5 cents for each dollar after that first million. But if you're doing what we're doing, and that is to create narrative content, to create an animation, create a video, that sort of thing, and we're not actually distributing, for sale software, then creator's license is 100% free forever. So, either one of those, and then you click the download. And what you're actually downloading here is something called the Epic Launcher. So when you install the tool that comes with this download, ultimately you get this Epic Launcher. And so this is kind of the gateway to all things Unreal Engine. And when you first install this, it'll actually likely have a bunch of info about some video game content. And so let me just quickly open my Epic Launcher. Because, you know, Epic is a game company. And I like to say that, you know, for all the developers, Unreal Engine is free. For me, like, you know, my daughter's constantly asking for more, you know, funding for her Fortnite activities. So in some way, I've paid for this. So when you first open this Epic Launcher for the very first time, you'll probably end up seeing like a big window here that has a lot of information about games and all that sort of thing. So the only thing that you're really interested in is this Unreal Engine page. So you can go there. And if you never want to see any of that game content ever again, once you're on the Unreal page, you can go to settings and just check hide game library. And once you've done that and said, okay, at this point, this is now just a launcher for all things Unreal, and you don't have to worry about all the game stuff. And then you can finish. I have a launch button here because I've already installed Unreal, but it would be an install Unreal button here, or you can go to library and there's a little plus button and you can do that, add a little card, and then you just pick which version you want to install. For the activities we're doing right now, you want to install version 4.27.2. So this is available for both PC and Mac. That's the latest production version of Unreal. There is a preview now for version 5, which is not being released for a little bit of time yet. Version 5?
Yeah.
Oh, it's nice. It is really, really nice.
Very good.
So I'll just share, like you just sent me down the tangent, but here's the deal. The very first thing I learned how to do in visual effects anywhere, it was learned from Alex Lindsay back in the early 2000s. And it was this thing called photogrammetry. And back then, all photogrammetry really did was calculate where, like, you would shoot, let's say 100 photos of a thing. Let's say I have like an astronomical camera mount here. And I wanted a 3D model of this. I would shoot 100 photos of this from all different angles. And the photogrammetry software of the day would give you a position of every single camera. It would solve for the lens. And you would have like a cloud of locators. So for something like this, you know, major intersections of corners and little bits of text and things like that would all be identified in 3D space. And then you would use that as a guide to then essentially manually create a three-dimensional model by looking through the different cameras from different angles and, you know, beveling and extruding and moving different parts of the model. And so that was it of the day. And then as photogrammetry got better, it was able to create highly detailed, dense 3D models. So you could take 100 photos of a stone wall and you'd get something that's like 1 million polygons, multiple millions of polygons, but it would have all the detail of all those stones, except it was unusable in the 3D software. So you would still do a bunch of manual work to manually kind of take that and make it digestible by all of the 3D software. So where I'm going with this, one of the big features of Unreal 5 is something called Nanite, and it will absolutely digest that multi-million polygon model straight out of the photogrammetry solution. And it basically discards the need to do any manual cleanup of the model outside of the photogrammetry software. And the technology, the software that they're doing that with is essentially analyzing the model and breaking it up into pieces that are digestible by GPUs, and then storing a hierarchical copy of that model in the GPU's memory. So it's just lightning fast. And so you can have, you know, a large thing, a building, and it could be millions of polygons when you're really, really close to it. And it's just using the few thousand polygons that happen to be in view of the camera. And then when you pull away, it's already pre-digested smaller versions of all of those little things. And so you can create massive environments that are highly, highly detailed. So that's my favorite feature, you know, because it's just been the thing I've done for the longest amount of time. Anyway, I digress. So going back to this is where you go ahead and you install Unreal Engine. And if we go back to the video, which this is our video, this kind of shows that you should then install a tool called Quixel Bridge, which is a gateway to tons of photogrammetry. All of this is pre-built photogrammetry material. But Bridge also is effectively the bridge between Metahuman Creator, which is on the server, and your local computer in Unreal Engine. So after you've installed Unreal Engine, you go and install Quixel Bridge. And once Bridge is installed, you can launch Bridge. Now you have everything on your computer you need to get your Metahuman. So at this point, you can start Unreal Engine and make a blank project. When you first launch it, you'll get a window like this about creating a new project. You can choose film and video, and you choose blank, and eventually you'll get to choose where you want to put that. Let me just see how this goes. We do blank and we go next. Right. And so in here, we don't need any starter content. We'll keep ray tracing disabled, but the big deal is where you want to put it. And then it'll create basically an empty vessel in order to store your Metahuman. An Unreal Engine project contains a lot more than just the files you add to it. There's interfaces and there's coding underneath. And so there's a lot of material that goes into this folder. Once that is set up, you'll have a blank world in which you can now put your Metahuman. So we have Bridge installed, we have Unreal Engine running, but we haven't connected the two of them. So the next step is to run Quixel Bridge, and we will need to be able to download our Metahuman. Right, by default, your Metahuman is visible. You'll log into Bridge with your Epic account. You'll go to your My Metahumans in this left-hand panel, and your new Metahuman is ready to go, but it needs to be downloaded. So you'll click a download button. It's hard to see with the interface in place, but there's a download button here, and there usually is a download button that shows up here when you hover your mouse over it. The final piece of that is, while this is, before you download it, you want to make sure that you're able to export to your Unreal Engine install. So there's instructions on setting that up. And this is basically connecting Bridge to Unreal Engine. So once you've done that and you restart Unreal, you'll have this green Megascans button here. And that means that they're connected. And then finally, you download your Metahuman. It takes a little while, and that's kind of why I put this clock in here. So at the 6.5 minute mark, I clicked a button for download. Now there's a server that's actually generating all the files for the Metahuman, because what we got saved was just the parameters. You picked hair number 03, you picked, base human 52, and then you have all these different values for your sculpt values and blend values and all of that sort of thing. So now it's actually generating the actual files that Unreal Engine will use, all the textures and all the 3D models based on the choices that you made. And so that could take a while. In my demo, it took several minutes before we got to 100%, and then it started to download. And then eventually,
how long does the download usually take? It takes a little while, doesn't it?
It does take a while. I should have shown
you're basically you're building Metahuman in the cloud, and then you're down, even if it's on the same computer, you're building it on the cloud, and then it's exporting from the cloud to your computer. So it's not, and it's a lot of data.
It's a lot. I mean, that's how they're going to save, right? The Metahuman on the cloud is saved as just a number of parameters. It's a spreadsheet, right? So that doesn't take up much space. And so there could be hundreds of thousands, millions of Metahumans, and it really doesn't take up any server space. So when you want to bring it to your computer, they temporarily generate all the files that you need in order to export it to Unreal Engine. And then they pass them on as a library in Bridge. And so that you'll have that file stored locally on your computer, and it's ready to go and be exported. And then once that's there and that download's done, and let's just say it's like 5-10 minutes for that to come down. It's probably closer to 10 than 5. In the end, you'll have an export button visible when you put your mouse over the Metahuman, and then you can click that export button, and ultimately you'll have several minutes of now those files are being pulled into Unreal Engine. And that's why we had to put this here. It's interesting. Bridge really just sends a command to Unreal Engine, this plugin in Unreal Engine. It says, here's the Metahuman, go get those files and build it in Unreal. So it's doing its own process. So in Bridge, you'll click the export button, and it'll have a little message box will pop up, and very quickly, like within seconds, it'll say successfully exported. What's really happened there is it's successfully sent the message to Unreal to bring in all those files. So when you switch over to Unreal, now Unreal is doing the heavy lift work of copying all of those files. So it's just going to load. I mean, it's hundreds, if not well over 1,000 files. It's probably well over 1,000 files that it's processing in general. So at this point that I'm actually importing, I'm 15 minutes later, right, from when I first hit the download Metahuman. And now 15 minutes later, I'm now just starting the process of importing it into Unreal. And there'll be a bunch of messages that come up, and you want to wait for them to stop appearing. A lot of the messages will eventually just go away on their own, but these three.
What are the missing plugins?
So there's rig logic, right? And live link control rig. This is by default, when you create a virtual production for film and television project, the plugins for character rigs are not activated. The plugins for live link, which is the way of you can live puppet a character, are not activated. So you could activate those manually in advance, but I usually just wait until these messages come up. So these plugins are for essentially puppeting the metahumans, animating them, and they need to be activated. Another plugin is the groom plugin, because that's the plugin that handles all the follicles of hair, and that's for not just the head, but the eyebrows, any facial hair, even like that really fine hair that's lots of people have, that's you just don't even bother shaving it. It's just little fine filaments. All of that is handled by this groom plugin, which isn't loaded by default because it's not used for a lot. If you're just doing a virtual production of a control room studio that has no people in it, you wouldn't need any of these plugins to make that functional. So and then there's a host of settings that are related to all of these things. So we wait for all of these messages to finish. And once all of this has settled down, we go ahead and we click enable missing for all three and restart Unreal. And at that point, then we're ready to go. So I'm just going to kind of skip ahead here. So I just click enable missing on each of these. And then finally, it's asking me to restart so that not only are they loaded, but they're actually activated. So I go ahead and there's a restart now button over here. And once I do that, Unreal restarts. We're at 23 minutes in, 24. And because all those new plugins are in there, there's also some shaders for the skin and all of that kind of stuff that need to be compiled. And then we're actually done. So it was basically about a half-hour process. And your Metahuman will be in your content browser, which is kind of like your file browser for all the assets. And I double click that to open it for the first time. And so, yeah, it's like a 30-minute process, and I should be able to click on the viewport and see my Metahuman in Unreal Engine. So there is that. That's
now how do they get it to you?
So the final step then is to basically package the project. So let's say I wanted to package this whole project, or do I have my Metahuman Nick. So here's my Unreal Nick project. The Metahuman is there. Everything's done. We go to the file menu, choose package project, and then choose zip up project. This is far more efficient than simply going to the folder on the computer where the project is and right-clicking and choosing zip, because this will discard any of the intermediary files that got generated as part of this process. So it only keeps the files that are absolutely needed to open this project again or use this MetaHuman again. So it's simply package project, zip up project, and you'll end up with a zip file. And on the Discord server for this space project, I actually did zip up this project this way, and I posted it so people can have Metahuman Nick there. And so that zip file is then ultimately which getting shared. And I can open up the zip file, and then I can right click this MetaHuman and say migrate and send that MetaHuman over to my other project. So if I go, here's Unreal Nick, here's the space launch, and here's the space control, then I can go ahead and I'll just select that, and it'll copy this MetaHuman over to this other project. So so the end step for everybody else is package project, zip up project. One note, and this is for a later time, but there is in the marketplace a really inexpensive set of glasses. I just go into, this is the Epic Launcher marketplace and glasses. Yeah, here we go. It's like 15 bucks. So I've bought this in the past. What's neat about these is that like I could use the sunglasses glass in this frame, or I could use the chrome or black plastic on this frame. So all of this is interchangeable, and it's just like a set of different glasses, and they can also be scaled and repositioned and such. So I bought this just to be able to add glasses to my metahumans in the future. So
it's like your
that
own
might be a
little
lesson for a
sunglass
later
hut.
time.
It's like Nick's sunglass hut.
Yeah.
Except they're not all
It does have like
$240 each.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. These are all, it's $15 for all of these. Now, if we could just get that from the sunglasses company, it would be all set. So yeah, it's very straightforward, but you know, I guess I should record a demo as to how to do this. But anything that's going to be rigid attached to the head ultimately can be brought into the MetaHuman definition. So like this is BP Unreal Nick. BP stands for Blueprint, which is basically Unreal's development language. And so Blueprint can handle models as well as code. Some of the code for the MetaHuman is how it's built and how the different skeletons inside construct and work together, but also inside that blueprint is the actual structure of the MetaHuman. And I forget, I haven't put glasses in here. So I guess we could do that as a demo, right? So content, I don't have glasses. So I can go here and my launcher, and I can say add to project, and I will find my Unreal Nick project in here somewhere.
I've noticed a lot of the glass materials in those glasses are need to be modified for metahumans. Otherwise the eyes look pretty googly and interesting.
Yeah, they have a lot of they have the refraction value set pretty high to basically get that really cool refraction effect if it's sitting on a table. But yeah, it's not nice when it happens to a MetaHuman. But now if I go to my project, now I have got glasses, so I could take frames here and find, actually, let's see, materials, textures, maps. Yeah, so I should just be able to do frames. Here we are. And I don't know which ones are the ones that I wear. I think, yeah, 04 is probably closest. So I can take these frames and drag them and put them here on the face. And I'll just name them glasses. And we haven't seen them yet. They're actually not attached to the face. This is just a hierarchy. So I'm just going to drop that in on the face. And I will also, now with the glasses selected, I could say, like, where do I want to attach them? Yeah, just for safety's sake here. I'm going to make sure my level of detail never swaps around. So I want one level of detail. 0. So the glasses.
And those level of details, by the way, some of them ones, if you're making the metahuman, it'll warn you that you only have one or two, right? Because there's not a lower resolution version available.
And that's just really for the grooms, the hair. All the metahumans can be any level of detail, but the hair grooms are only in some of them. If they have a little sign with the exclamation point, they're only available in the highly detailed 0 and 1. So like I think if I set this to like 5, for example, is that going to change for me? No, it's not. Okay, I'll just leave that set to 0 for now. But you can visualize those,
right.
And what'll end up happening is if the head gets to a certain number of pixels, the hair might disappear altogether. But what I've done here by taking this level of detail sync object and I basically say you only have one level of detail, and that level of detail is 0, which is the most highly detailed. Now it'll never change, and so my hair will never disappear. Well, right. One can hope anyway. So now the glasses are here, but they're located at my feet at 0, 0, 0. The first thing I would do if I want them to be on my face is to actually attach them to one of the joints in the face. And so what you can do is click this magnifying glass, and this is the names of all the different bones that are inside the structure of this metahuman. And so usually for glasses, I will deliberately choose something related to the nose. So I'll just type in nose here. In fact, I'm just going to type in the word bridge, the bridge of the nose, and fingers crossed this is the right one. Facial C for center, nose bridge. And so now the glasses should end up being there. Are they there? They're not there. Let's do a compile. Let's try a different bridge. Some of these joints might belong to other levels of detail. I don't know. I always have a little bit of struggle with this. Let's try just center nose. There we go. Center nose. There we are. So rather than the bridge, center nose, that puts our glasses now on the face. And what's nice is anywhere the face goes, those glasses will follow. And so finally, I can just F to fit. I can position the glasses. I should be able to move this. There we go. Can I move it now? Nope, it's only letting me move it here for some reason. I'm stepping, so I'm going to deactivate stepping. There we go. And then we have some rotations. So E for rotate. Will it let me rotate on the screen? Yes, it'll let me do that. So I'll rotate to negative 90 and rotate in this direction. 90 degrees. And so we're starting to get into position. And all of these are offsets from that nose joint. So it's saving these as how far away from the nose joint am I? So I'll make this negative. I'm just adjusting my Y value here. 90 and 90. Y. All right, there we go. And then I could do some other adjustments if I needed to. I could probably scale this. R button lets me scale. And then one final note is that these glasses actually have like their own little skeleton structure inside them. There's one for each hinge as well as one for the bridge of the nose. So later what I would do is basically edit this or make a copy of these glasses and edit it so that the arms from these glasses were swung out a little bit more, because I wouldn't want to make the glasses any wider than this, but I need to swing out those arms so that they're on the outside of my head instead of actually, look at that, I've been impaled.
Ouch. That would hurt a lot.
Ouch. It would be, yeah.
But for this one, for people to send them to you to be in this, because I want to keep it simple enough for folks that are doing this. You can put the glasses on, but really the key is if you want to be in the control room, what you need to be able to do is build your metahuman, get through that export process, and then save it and export it, and then send it to Nick.
Exactly.
And then,
don't worry about the glasses.
Yeah, the glasses are kind of an extra there.
And you're, you could send a photo and say, hey, I would love to wear glasses. And if I have time, I will add them. Like I already own this. So there's no reason for you to buy the $15 glasses, and unless you really want them. But I can, if I have time, that'll be my stretch goal, is to add glasses for anyone that needs them.
Absolutely.
But yeah, just making the Metahuman in Metahuman Creator, getting it into Unreal, doing the file package project zip up, and then getting that zip file to me. And I guess we'll need to figure out the way to do that would be to use whatever file sharing service you have access to, whether it's Box or Dropbox, and then you could send me the link. I don't know if we want to use, you could just tag me in either the office hours or the space launch Discords. And, you could use the digital humans in office hours, and you could use the Discord over the space launch. There's, you can post it there too. Either one.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick.
Does that help?
That helps a lot. Yeah, no, it was great. It was great to walk through it with everybody. And those videos are up there. Those have been going out in the email every day, so you can watch those videos there. Nick, how long do you need? So we're going to run out of time, I think. So
yeah,
when do you need to have those the Unreal exports to you to make sure that they're on the launch? What's a deadline?
So I would say that let's do Sunday, 1 week from now. Is our deadline.
It would be better to do Friday.
You want to do Friday?
Let's do Friday, because you need the weekend to do that, because I know that your week is typically more. I mean, it depends. You can make it whatever you want, but I'd say Friday.
Yeah, I'm good with Friday. I would love Friday. Friday would be great. So let's do Friday.
So Friday. So if you want to be in the control room, Friday is your deadline. Friday midnight. It's fine. Midnight, wherever you are in the world. Friday is the deadline.
And there will be a follow-up opportunity where we just want a video of your face, zero cropping of your face. So you try to fill the frame. Like you could even, heresy of heresies, you can film with a phone vertically to get a video of your face delivering a line. But I think for that, there's still discussions going on in the space launch Discord as to what exactly those lines will be. So you don't have to worry about those quite yet. And those are something I can apply to the metahumans after I've gotten them all into the control room. But you might want to think about that, and be sure that you're set up to be able to record some video, because then I'll use that video to apply that bit of dialogue, both as animation and audio, to the metahuman.
Did we decide? I think we decided that if you can do high frame rate, it does make a difference.
It does. Yeah. So if you're able to use your iPhone and shoot at 120 frames or even 240 frames.
Did the one, because I think the one that I did, but resolution doesn't really help. So 120, it doesn't help past 1080p, right? Or even 720, I think.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you shot 240 frames a second
at 4K.
But you shot Ultra HD,
So
exactly,
4K. When I did the thing for Nick, I had a 12K or the 12K camera with me, and so that's what I was using as my webcam, and so I shot it at 200 and again at 240 frames a second at 4K. The 240 frames made a difference because of the wow and flutter that you can get rid of. You can filter it because even you're oversampling essentially your movement. But yeah, I think we decided that the resolution didn't mean anything. It just made it bigger.
Yeah. Now it worked. It was nice though, because you shot
a little wider than I should.
Landscape. Which was fine, because then when I cropped it down and I kept the pixels one for one, I actually got a 1080p of your face vertically framed, and that worked. That worked great for what we were doing. So if you're shooting with a phone,
just turn it vertical, because all you need is the face.
Yeah. And just make sure that no part of your head goes out of the frame. So you can have buffer, but don't go out of the frame because then they'll ruin it.
One of the interesting things I found with the headset also is with the headset rig is that in some cases that made it harder because the phone stays connected or the camera stays connected to your head. And if you don't have something else capturing the head movement, you don't get the movement of the head that goes with the, because if you do it with the camera on a stationary thing and you're looking at it and doing it, it's capturing all that head motion, right? That's going along with the
right.
speech.
So the head mounted, those rigs where someone wears a helmet and out in front of their face is a camera are really intended to be with motion capture systems. So you have Vicon or something else that's capturing the head movement. And that way you get it all together. Right. If, just for doing desktop, it's actually better to just have a camera that's not moving. So that is a good note though, that if you're filming with your phone, don't hold it and
put it on a
let
tripod.
it wiggle, like actually mount it on a tripod of some kind. Yeah. And you want to look directly into the camera. You don't want it to be low looking up at you or high looking down.
And do we know what text we're going to, and that could be something that can come afterwards. So the first thing to do is get the Metahuman to Nick so that he can get it in there.
Exactly.
Applying the animation is relatively straightforward. I mean, once you get the video.
It is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Once I have the video, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So we'll work on that. All right. We're going to go ahead and close up.
I'm going to check. I'll check with the space folks and see if we can pin down exactly what the script should be for everybody. I suppose, John, are you're on the space group, right? This is kind of your thing, isn't it?
Affirmative.
So, do you have any thoughts? Because I don't see a whole lot of conversation as to what the script will be for this portion. And so I don't know if you have any input on that. Like I was thinking, if it were me and I'm a metahuman in here, I'm just going to say something along the lines of virtual systems, go for launch. I didn't know if you had.
Yeah, we've got most of that all worked out, and Josh is here too. So Josh is kind of spearheading this. He's the producer for this segment. Yes.
Oh, there's Josh. Yeah. So everyone's that is producing a metahuman. Do you have in mind that you're going to give each person a line to say, or that they should come up with a line, and any guidelines as to what that should be?
So we should have a deadline for the script. There is a inside the Discord, you'll see there's a part that has script that you can put your ideas for the script, but we will have to have a deadline for when that script is finalized, which will give us what lines and characters and what the MO of that script will be. The 10,000 foot view is that the individual contributions will pop up on the screens of that virtual control center of the virtual control center. So they'll be able to come in and controls and then interact with the metahumans that are in that event. So there's some leniency, but if you have some ideas about the script, please put that in the script channel of the Unreal Engine Go for Launch Discord.
There we go. And that's under the OH Space team. So for anyone who's not on that yet, someone needs to share them in link of some kind.
Yeah, just hit me or Josh up on Discord and we'll add you to the group.
There you go.
Great. Nick, this is amazing. Can't wait to see what comes out of it.
Yeah, I'm excited. This should be fun.
Yeah. So we'll give everybody maybe if everyone's going to get it done by Friday, maybe the following week we'll get an update at some point. Maybe we'll find a second hour. Maybe that Wednesday. Maybe if you have time, maybe we'll do a second hour and show people how it's going. Does that work for you? Maybe if we're going the 4th, maybe like the 9th, or just to show people what the progress is, a handful of them that are in there.
Yeah. So we can check the calendar for that. Yeah. I think one other specification I would make sure of is that whatever metahuman you create is wearing the button-down shirt.
Okay.
You can the color doesn't matter as much because I can adjust that later if we're going to make a uniform color, or if we're going to add logos or anything to that. But you should use John's showing it. Not John. Dennis is showing it now. It's just the button-down shirt. Yep. I can always make adjustments to that, but that way everyone's going to have a uniform look as they're sitting behind those consoles.
Yeah, sounds great. All right. Thanks to everybody for watching. We're going to go ahead and close up the YouTube stream if you're watching the YouTube stream. And now we're going to go about our daily business on a Sunday here, or a Monday for some folks. Thanks to the producers for the great conversation all morning. Thanks to our panelists for great answers and great conversation as well. And now we're going to jump off and jump into After Hours. We'll see you there.
Should I be upset that my Metahuman looks much better than